not been an absolute electric past, I don't know, 24-ish hours. I'm not going to lie. I was up so late last night. I was motivated. The stream was awesome. The announcements we keep seeing rolling through, everything just seems super positive, and it feels like everybody's just, in a little bit of a pippier and a jollier mood, if you will. Welcome to another edition of XFeed. This is my experience when I tried to mention NFTs in a area where NFTs aren't really a discussion. But this is something we bring up where we can, and we cover the Web3 space. If this is your first time tuning in, stay for a few minutes, see if you're going to have a good time. And if you do, we'd love any likes and shares. NFTs in the big 2025. LOL, NFT in 2025. Kekel, who NFT, bro? All right. Now, this was in a League of Legends streamer chat. Just thought I'd try my luck, see what the response would be. But again, the negativity or the not so positive sentiment around crypto, absolutely still a thing. And of course, tomorrow, new episode of RWA Segments podcast, where we actually have kind of a focus on gaming a little bit with the team from Portal. So be sure to check out the link in the description below if you're on YouTube or in my bio on X. They yelled Ethereum 10x loudly across the restaurant before I picked up my food. Marketing engine never stops. I've seen this before where people go to Starbucks and they say that their name is something that is not their name. But the fact of just imagining going into a restaurant and somebody screams instead of number 4, it's Ethereum, pick up 4 Ethereum. It's like one of those insider jokes where people could say, hey, you know what? 2025 people have weird names. Well, the people in the know, they know. So let's respond or react to the PR disaster that happened over the weekend. For a TLDR, if you hadn't seen, Beeple has been teasing. Well, first of all, Beeple is one of the biggest artists within NFTs. He had a piece that sold at Christie's or one of the auction houses for $69 million or something absolutely absurd. He does a collection that he posts every single day that is usually making fun of the hottest narrative of the day, but just a really, really notable artist within the space. And there's a collection, called Nakamigos. And these Nakamigos, he's kind of dropped those avatars hidden in some of the pieces. And there was a CryptoPunk event that he held on the weekend where people were able to go see just NFTs on display, hang out more with the crowd. And there was an announcement within that the Larva Labs team had created V0 Punks originally, and that was the collection that were Nakamigos. And then the collection of Nakamigos ends up skyrocketing and then immediately falls flat once people see the video that is clearly AI generated, and everybody's like, oh crap, we got duped. People at the event knew, but of course, in this realm of AI, people taking things at face value online, it just goes way out of proportion. So something that is supposed to be this fun, haha moment turns into, potentially a whole bunch of people getting absolutely rinsed from trying to flip it. Welcome to crypto in 2025. But it gets so bad that Beeple has to make a statement. So I actually haven't watched this. I know I shared it a little bit last night. But I wanted to react here live. So here's his response to the situation.
Hey everybody, so this is Mike Beeple here. I just wanted to take a second to, kind of address.
Just on a side note, I love the fact, how easy is it just to throw in a camera and answer something directly? We have so many situations in this space that could be completely avoided if you just be honest, authentic for 2 minutes. That's all you need to do.
That's what happened last night. For those who don't know, there was sort of this fake announcement around, this project by Larva Labs, and I just, really, those guys weren't part of it. This was just something I did. They didn't know about it. And so I really thought people would know that this was a joke. The things that I thought would sort of tell them that was a joke, that obviously this did not accompany a press release. There was no social media post.
Okay, so the assumed red flags did not accompany a press release, was no social media post announced by AI-generated video, included language calling CryptoPunk shitty, announcement made at 11 p.m. on a Saturday, complete lack of backing evidence, and historic announcement made by unrelated third party. So, I love he probably mentions all of this within the text itself, but if you watch the video and if you were on the stream yesterday, like it was so painfully obvious that it was fake.
The video announcement was clearly AI generated with my voice. It included language calling CryptoPunk shitty and dumb and ugly. The announcement was made at 11 p.m. on a Saturday night at a party. There was no actual backing evidence given, and then the fact that this historic announcement, was being made by me, I guess I would have thought people would have, taken all those clues that this was a joke, but I can see how that would be really hard for, some people. And so what I wanted to do was sort of like, make things.
It's not even like a hard for people thing. It's just like it was put out on the web, and if you didn't see the video firsthand and you saw all the people that were making memes or other wild claims and don't realize this was associated with it, is more of a reaction from everybody else that just didn't see source material.
Right, and sort of like, fix the situation. So I've set up, the URL here. And so if you want to go to this URL,
Jesus Christ.
I've got a free NFT that,
he brings up the 888 collection from back and before. Goodness gracious. So people not apologizing necessarily. But yeah, people, this is the AI future is here. So Drake Bell from Drake and Josh is out on the timeline. Yeah, I guess he has a token.
Okay, so I just woke up to a Drake coin being made by Bags. Finn, you're a genius. This is so fun. So I'm just like buying Drake coin today. Anyway, you should buy Drake coin.
Okay, all right. What are we doing with the celebrity tokens? Oh no, there's another one. Oh, there's another one. So the viral Ibiza guy, if you've not seen the meme, basically this dude was just seen like dancing in a club or to music, and the meme went super viral. And guess what happens? Oh, it's the same situation as the hawk to a person. Man. So the token comes out and then it basically goes straight to zero. Phenomenal. And I guess this is, I didn't even know they actually were on any social media platforms, but they posted about it, 38,000 views. Token goes up like 5,000% and then drops by 98 or basically zero. Delightful. Love celebrity stuff. Let's talk about something that's a little bit more authentic. This is super important to listen to. So if you're busy, hold on for uno momento, por favor. But Chainlink's Sergey talking about the Chainlink Link token reserve. Be very, very conscientious and aware of what he says here.
There's a big news from Chainlink. We're breaking it here, obviously, first. So go ahead and do it. You just launched the Chainlink Reserve. What is the Chainlink Reserve? Break that down for us.
The Chainlink Reserve is basically the answer to the question of how does off-chain revenue relate back to the Chainlink system. So there has been a lot of adoption of Chainlink in the on-chain world, meaning DeFi. So Chainlink powers well over 65%, sometimes over 70% of DeFi. And a lot of that is operated on chain, paid for on chain. That's the on-chain adoption of Chainlink that everyone knows very well. Increasingly over the past few years, there's been a lot of adoption of Chainlink by enterprises of various sizes. And those enterprises need to implement the Chainlink standard. They need to integrate. They need maintenance. They need support. They need all kinds of services around Chainlink to make sure that it's properly enabled as a data system, cross-chain system, identity system, privacy preserving, computation system. And so those deals, those off-chain deals, are things that people have asked us about.
And so they're bringing it over to have a reserve. So anything that's bringing in a little bit of money on either side of the coin here, pun intended, And this is Chainlink themselves being like, hey, we have this profitability, this flywheel that's starting, as everybody likes to say. And how do we, add some value to the token holders? So something to watch moving forward. Who else is going to do it? And again, that's just the company themselves buying it. We're seeing a lot of these treasury companies coming up. How many of them go for a Chainlink one? Garga, the founder of Bored Ape Yacht Club. The age of the floor NFT is over. The time of the Grail has come. If you don't know, that's a meme off Lord of the Rings. The age of men is over. The time of the orc is now. Has come. Something like that. Good reference. Love it. Example. Somebody multicolored grid and floor. Obviously, we're big fans of that. But for 75,000 American dollars. Holy smokes. But then they're already trying to flip it for 85. So people are getting confident out there. Not an unreal flip by any means. A little bit of extra 2 ETH. But ETH being where it is. What does it look like for NFT season? Yesterday, we highlighted that we ran into the Readyverse late last night. Thank you so much for coming through that stream for what it was. No Credits sent me an invite within PromptTopia. I had absolutely no idea what I was doing. I thought this was a Wordle, and it was not. There seems to be a tomato. It's got to be tomato, right? There's got to be a tomato in my soup.
These may take a moment. Go explore PromptTopia while I work.
Yo, not bad. Yo, listen, not bad. It's not a bad fit. Not a bad fit at all. It's got to be a tomato.
Right. Gather round. I have the generations ready.
Wait. It made a tomato? What the hell? He said there's a butterfly. That is a dragonfly. No, not a single person has corrected me since posting this. But that is absolutely not a butterfly. Why the hell would you say there's a butterfly in my soup?
Now, here's the thing. We're going to take these and
What?
get really crazy.
The hell is this? Yo, this is like Beyblades. Yo, so there was a couple of problems within the game where the grenades were really weird and it was you had a broken arm that you were throwing things and but I honestly thought this was a Wordle that we were answering a quiz, and then to have it that I thought there was going to be tomato in my soup and it prompts me to play as a tomato and a Beyblade sort of race. Very just what I was not expecting that in any fashion. So if you guys are wanting to watch that or check it out, of course, check out the pages. You can see the streams from yesterday. Robbie Ferguson from Immutable. Tomorrow will be very important. And this was on August 11th at 8:09 a.m. Obviously, everybody's on different parts of the world. Yo, Corvus, good to see you again. Yo, we're back to back to back. Love to see it. Announcing something we expect will bring more players to Web3 than anything Immutable has done before. So we've seen the announcements around Might and Magic and the Fates TCG game. I feel Robbie's probably upper echelon and getting hyped into any sort of announcement, whether how big it is, but very possible that we see some fireworks coming into the space as a whole moving forward. So Decrypt posted this article about how there's all these things going on with the regulation within crypto. And Jason Brink here makes a comment that I think is fair, and you have to be aware of it, but it's also something that neither you or I could theoretically do anything about, except maybe sign a petition down the line. Right? So speaking openly here, but he says, this is why I'm very, very, very careful with compliance and avid the US market in general. I think that after the current administration is out, whoever ends up running things will absolutely whiplash regulate against crypto in the most asinine and vicious fashion. I obviously don't agree with Warren, but the pendulum will eventually swing back the other direction, and it will get really ugly. So then we could have the arguments of, well, do we have a point where people say, oh, you know what, if the market ends up dipping, there's so many market participants, we're not going to see a true dip, right? That's the narrative that comes around with these sort of things. But trying to change that to, all right, well, for regulation, do they just end up saying, hey, we don't like this, we're not going to do this, we're gonna, what does that look like? And it's a weird world having, the positive sentiments and the negative ones. So I want to have a little bit of a story time with you guys. So, Pudgy Penguins. I had a good friend. They let me know the other day that they bought Pengu token. So happened to visit them the other day, and they were just, showing me what they had. And they were like, well, here's my Pengu. But the logo that they showed and everything was this. I'm like, yeah, that's my Pengu. And I'm like, well, it says PLU, and it's an image with a P on it, but like the token's called Bluton. So I don't know how the hell that happened, but apparently there can still be confusion between some tokens. So be sure, send the right info, and make sure people, if they are getting into something, know what they are getting into. A good recap from the past week from Watcher Guru. So President Trump officially signs executive order opening the $12.5 trillion 401k retirement market to crypto investors. That's pretty huge. Number 2, SEC and Ripple XRP officially end legal battle following joint dismissal of appeals. We've seen XRP fly off that announcement, but then we've only really seen Bitcoin and ETH move. And it's been past 24 hours, been whip, 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 whip. But volatility is happening. So what happens with XRP? What happens with Solana? It feels positive momentum. President Trump officially signs executive order to stop banking discrimination against crypto, religion, and politics. Sort of funny when we look at like the situation that just was, and there's people that if they were in certain roles would try to like completely destroy the industry because we literally lived that for the previous several years. Canada loses 40,000 jobs in July, largest monthly decline since the COVID pandemic. Holy smokes. Harvard buys $116 million worth of BlackRock spot Bitcoin ETF. Crypto czar David Sachs says the executive orders President Trump signed this week will give 90 million Americans access to crypto. 82% of the S&P 500 companies beat quarterly earnings estimates despite Trump's tariffs. The SEC declares crypto liquid staking activities are not considered security. So the idea is like you stake ETH and then you get like a staked ETH token back, and then you're able to like go around and do stuff with it. But like if you get rid of it, then you're not able to redeem your staked ETH. That's not a security. Dubai officially approves first crypto options license, and ETH surpasses 4,300 for the first time since 2021. Miles with the follow-up here. Yo, Goose, how we doing? Over $1 billion of short liquidations in the past week. People are shorting the market with all of this like unreal positive news. I don't understand why you would short an asset that has constant TradFi bid. Stop swimming against the current. I don't really leverage trade, but I feel like everybody is still so emotionally charged on this market, it's going to get crazy. And it's going to get real crazy if this one ends up selling. An alien CryptoPunk, Punks, OTC, over the counter, one of the biggest traders, brokers of CryptoPunks is saying something's going on with one of the very few alien punks. As it gets closer and closer to selling, I have one small request. Please wait until ETH is over $4,741 before you click buy. It'd be a shame to miss out on it being the largest on-chain sale ever. So you pause for a second and you try to quickly do math of like, okay, so 4,741. I mean, how much ETH are we talking? We're like 50. Okay, so it goes up. And then you're like, well, hold on. The Beeple sale was 50 plus million, 69, whatever the hell it was, right? There's no way that this would go for that. Well, the argument is that Beeple's sale was not on chain because it was through an auction house. So if it does go for sale around and again, it's not going to be 50 ETH. I'm just saying like the ETH floor is around 50. I think we've seen these go for like several thousand Ethereum before. That would put it way up there. So food for thought here. I saw this on the timeline. And it was Christine. It says, gave my son a choice this weekend between keeping my day one Moonbird, which they've been absolutely flying. I think they're just below 3 ETH right now, or selling it to buy inventory for his new comic and collectibles shop. Well, clearly, if you're somebody that's like feeling entrepreneurish and you're like, hey, you're going to give me a whole bunch of thousands of dollars for my shop, I feel like I'm probably going to take that one too. But Pokemon cards and comic books won. If any Moonbirds want to give the Moonbird a home, good call. And the response was really what I wanted to talk about here because it's from Spencer. And for the longest time, for a lot of these collections out here. The only way you could really be like a part of a community in any sort of fashion is if you held the damn asset of whatever is a part of it, right? Like, okay, I want to be a part of Azuki. Well, you got to buy one of 3 NFT collections, and they're all expensive as hell, right? It's going to cost you several $100s. But because we're having products, experiences, things that are branches off of like the core value prop or the core assets within the ecosystem, you can still be a part of it. Well, Spencer, glad to see the liquidity help do something meaningful for your family. DM me an address. We can send him some vibes cards for the shop. Again, Spencer was the one that acquired Moonbirds. They're doing Vibes TCG. And bada boom, bada bing. You still have the connection to the broader ecosystem, just in a little bit of a different way that you're able to support. So I want to go down the rabbit hole of intellectual property for a second. One Piece. It's a phenomenal show. It's been around for a ton of years. I don't know why the hell I've never watched it, but I was obsessed with it. I went out and bought a bunch of the comic books, mangas as they call them, watch parts of the TV show, but I'm holding back because I'm like, I enjoy this so much, I don't want to like rush through the series. So I've only gotten through like 8 episodes or something so far. I don't really wait until I'm always in a good mood to continue watching. But I was like, damn, how the hell do I get a part of this? Where's the collectibles? How do I FOMO over this? I'm over here trying to figure out how to get prompts of like what my ape would look like within the One Piece sort of world. And how do I get access to the digital landscape of One Piece if I'm willing to give them money? But I don't, you know what? I don't really care about buying some of the physical stuff, but I can show it off in a digital fashion or a collectible of some sort. I do it. So that's the question. How do you do that? Bear Steak. Most of the top NFT projects are IP-based. Successful IP has to tell a story. The One Piece story, phenomenal. I loved it. What if there was a tool that allowed holders to tell the story behind their NFT and earn based off those creations? Storytelling NFTs. Now, the catch with this is we've seen multiple collections go out and try to offer saying, well, write your own lore for the story. And that works in a sense, but you have to have a foundation of what the story is about with success that's attached to it, I think. So taking like Game of Thrones as an example, that's a vast world. And there's probably a lot of people that would write about that world. But to have other people interested, you would need fans of Game of Thrones itself, right? Where if you're just going to have somebody that creates a story for a certain IP, well, it's the same thing. For anybody that's going to want to read that, you're going to need people that are just really obsessed with the core value of whatever that specific IP is. And so, Dragonlance. What the hell is this? Well, it's an old IP that I thought was great. They have they have an animated movie that was out, and that was the only thing they ever created. But if they ever came out and did any sort of extra collectibles and whatnot, I would be all over that. They do Dungeons and Dragons. They have these books. They do a whole bunch of other stuff, but I've never really... I think I've read the original book, but there's like a whole series to it, and I've seen the movie, but I love the IP. So here's an example of like what the trailer is.
Based on the New York Times best-selling novel,
Chaos, war, death. That is what I see.
featuring the voices of Lucy Lawless, Michael Rosenbaum, Dragonlance. After 300 years of peace, the evil goddess Tease and her unstoppable army of dragons have descended upon the mystic world of Kryn. Now, a handful of warriors must battle the forces of darkness in a struggle to save all they hold dear. But will even their great courage be enough when the final battle begins? Dragonlance.
Dragon. Dragons of Autumn Twilight. It's great. Honestly, you can go up to YouTube if you type in Dragonlance movie, it'll pop up. It's like hour and a half or something. Nothing too crazy on there. But think of all these IPs that don't really do anything right now that potentially could come back on chain, that could do anything within these marketplaces. We keep talking about how it's going to be a point where if you just have IP, you can end up making money. Like, I really think that that's something that's going to happen. And so looking at different protocols like Story Protocol, what Silo's trying to do, your IP, any game, total control, what does it look like for these bigger players that are coming into the space to be on rails that are authentic, that are proven, that you can flip a switch and decide what experiences that they want to get into? Because that's something that is the question we have for authenticity right now. The Beeple situation we brought up at the beginning of the stream, how the hell could you tell if that's true? For all these online experiences, why is everybody going to go out and just copy IPs of other people within these different worlds? We'll know for Fortnite, you usually have, like when they did the Metallica band, there's some sort of royalties or payment set up for it. Dana White here, they just signed a $7.7 billion deal with Paramount to have the UFC on Paramount. IP is incredibly valuable, and I think that we're going to see some interesting times ahead for anything that is successful with connecting IP to these on-chain experiences. Because sometimes we like using the word metaverse, sometimes we don't. 9 hours since switching my from my avatar to myself, and honestly, my thought is like, imagine the people that have the luxury of like super rare NFTs. And they can just like switch it out whenever and like show that status. I don't know if I feel like any different having it. Like, it's not like anything feels different except for when I make a comment or a reply to somebody, I feel like they want to like respond. If I say something negative to somebody and I have a face of myself, I feel like they're immediately going to go to like trying to make fun of how I look. Maybe that's a weird thought, but I'm curious moving forward, do we have it where it is people that are represented by their face more, or is it going to be these avatars because people are ruthless online? That is ultimately the question. But that's it for this edition of XFeed. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget, yesterday's stream was absolutely phenomenal. If you want to check that out, we did kind of a double whammy of XFeed with a bunch of Sunday news, and then we did the Readyverse early access launch. The Portals podcast is dropping sometime tomorrow. And that is a metaverse experience on Solana. We talk about the games industry failing. We talk about the background for Portals, the fact that they're doing a token, and what exactly that kind of looks like for their greater economy. Get into AI agents. We get into a little bit of everything. Again, links down in the description below on YouTube or on my bio on X. Thank you for coming on through, Corvus and Goose and anyone watching afterwards. See you guys tomorrow. Peace.